If you're the chief executive of a large company, managing director of your own business, or just generally wealthy, there are choices galore when it comes to choosing your large executive limousine. Out goes the old slab-sided S-Class to be replaced by a slimmed-down, ultra-luxurious, gadget-packed new S-Series. There's the BMW 7 Series, beginning to look rather outdated now, the Lexus LS 400 and Jaguar and Daimler saloons. Now there's one car missing from that list, and that's Audi's revolutionary large saloon, the A8. Now with the advent of the new S-Class, a lot of car manufacturers have taken to freshening up their large executive saloons until new cars come on stream a few years down the line. And we've dragged ourselves, kicking and screaming, from our desks in cold, grimy Britain to the glorious Côte d'Azur, Bully-sur-Mer, on a beautiful day to see what changes Audi have made to the A8. And I have to tell you that those changes to the A8 are few and far between. Audi's philosophy is, why change a winning formula? The A8 is about just over halfway through its current life. Exterior changes you'll notice very few. Slight revisions to the bumpers front and rear, and the addition of that chrome strip there. The lights at the front are different too. There have been some changes inside the cabin, but the most important thing are the changes to the engines. But it's with the engines that you should notice the difference if you get a chance to drive or even buy a newly revised A8. It's that 5-valve per cylinder technology which Audi have now introduced to the two V8 engines in the range. The 2.8 V6 remains unchanged, but the 3.7 and the 4.2 get increase in power and torque, and it will make a difference. The 3.7 at the moment currently produces 230 brake horsepower. That rises to 260 brake horsepower, and the 4.2 gets an extra 10 horses to a mere 310 brake horsepower. They are both delightful engines. Now, it's at this point that I have to come clean with you and tell you that my own personal choice of car that is sat at home in my driveway right now, back in Britain, is one of these, an Audi A8 3.7. It's not a loan car, it's not a test car, it's a car I bought with my own money, and it's a car I found very few faults with in the 9 months or so that we've had it now. Inside the cabin, immediately you can tell a few minor differences they've changed. For instance, the center console there is different. You get this TV screen which doubles up as the radio and the CD and a navigation system too. That's changed. Some slightly different wood trims and some Alcantara in these door panels too. But inside, they've just made minor changes rather than going the whole hog.
David, what were the main reasons behind the decision to slightly revamp the A8 at this stage of its life?
Well, the car has been on the market now for over 3 years, and we didn't feel there was a need to do anything major to the car, but we felt we wanted to upgrade it a bit to put in some of the learning we've developed over the last 3 years, to give existing customers a reason to change for a new car, but also not to make the old car obsolete. So the visual changes are quite subtle, but there's been quite a lot of engineering changes underneath.
And what about the engines? That's probably the main area that's been changed.
Yeah, that's the main area, particularly on the V8s. The main change has been that the cars have gone from 4 valves per cylinder to 5 valves per cylinder, which means a modest increase in power, but major improvements in terms of emissions and in terms of fuel consumption.
So it is worth that extra valve per cylinder?
Yeah, it makes it a better car, makes it more drivable, the throttle response is better, and obviously the environmental damage is less.
And what about the running gear? That's changed slightly, hasn't it, with an all-aluminium running gear?
That's right, lots of new components in the running gear. The essential design of the suspension components is the same, but a lot more are now made out of aluminium, reducing unsprung weight, and with different settings for the springs and dampers, it really improves the ride and handling compromise.
Now, one thing you would expect with such a large car as this is awful fuel consumption. You'd expect it to be a big gas guzzler, and it is to a certain extent around town. But get it on the run, get it on the motorway, and it is really excellent. For instance, let me just give you an example. If you cruised at 90 miles per hour on the motorway all day long, the A8 3.7 with that V8 engine would do 30 miles to the gallon, and that really is remarkable for such a large car. So, can I recommend an Audi A8 to you? Well, yes, absolutely. As I mentioned earlier, I've actually bought one of these cars, and up against the rather staid looking BMW 7 Series and the rather dull and boring Lexus LS400, the A8 stands out like a shining beacon. The S-Class undoubtedly is going to give all of those cars a real run for the money. Prices for the A8, well, undoubtedly they'll rise when this revised version goes on sale. At the moment they start at £36,500 for the 2.8. If you want it in sport trim, you add an extra £4,000 on. That then goes through the 3.7 and the 4.2 Quattro right up to the all-singing, all-dancing, stunningly quick S8 at £62,000.